I received a call from our watch commander of a shooting in a nightclub in a club that's south in the south part of our city. Long story short, there was 49 casualties in that shooting and multiple victims from that, 50 with the assailant. It was the greatest mass killing in the history of our city. We had never experienced anything like that before. And so even though we had trained for it as a department, we had never experienced it. So we became listed among many other cities and communities that unfortunately are experiencing this kind of violence across our country and our world.
How do you assist first responders, and in your case primarily the Orlando Police Department, or their officers and or civilian employees in communications?
I think it starts with, as you know, being a chaplain yourself, having a very valid ministry of presence within the department. It's not something that happens overnight, but we've been building credibility and that ministry of presence for over 34 years now. And just your presence alone, coupled with some of the other things that we're gifted to do in terms of bringing comfort, or knowing how to just do the simple things that's needed. Water, providing food if there's a need for that, just being a support to these officers, stand along, come alongside to just your presence, because you are embedded in the department and with these officers, you've built relationships. Your presence alone, because of the grace of God that rests on our lives, brings comfort. Everybody from the comm staff, communication staff that received those calls, and they were traumatized just by the mere fact that they were getting all the calls to our first line SWAT responders. We tried to make sure that we were encompassing all that was affected. Our first priority is our officers, their families. Our second priority is our civilian support staff in our department, and then a third is that of victims. And the victims' primary chaplain or point chaplains, obviously, from the hospital perspective, were the hospital chaplains. So we work very closely with them, and then bringing in other ICPC chaplains that we have relationship with from other surrounding cities and towns. So I think the follow-up, and we're still doing debriefings whenever it's necessary, but we carried that on for several weeks and months afterwards. From my assessment, Chaplain, I'm happy to report I think they are coming back to some sense of normalcy overall, if I had to assess it, in the different venues I operate in and do ministry in. I think it was, by the grace of God, a remarkable healing process that's ongoing, of course. Some are still more traumatized than others because of, they were more direct victims. But there was such a coming together with our community in the city of Orlando, other surrounding municipalities and counties, our county. There was such a coming together across the board with law enforcement from federal, state, and local, government across the board, social agencies. We literally moved our, providing assistance to any and everyone that was affected. We literally moved that to a much larger venue. We started out with a smaller venue of meeting the direct needs of victims' families and empowering them with information and assistance that's available. But we moved it to our football stadium and one of our suites up there where they could come and go. And then the city actually established a permanent, if I can, for lack of a better term, crisis center, where it's still operating now, a place where family members, a place where people who are directed, they can go to this one place and get whatever information that they need, whatever resources or assistance that they need. So all of this was a coordinated effort, certainly with our city leaders and county leaders, along with the state coming in, even the federal government. But it was such a coming together. I think just the mere fact that we were coming together was therapy itself, where you saw these vigils that was held all around our greater Orlando area in an effort to bring healing, the healing process. And so my assessment overall for the community is that it's come a very long way. And I won't say that they are healed, but they're certainly in the healing process and getting as close as we possibly can back to normalcy.